Hey, I'm Kathleen, and I'm here with our special guest, Erwin, who's here for the Rivals of Ixalan pre-release. And as some supplemental content for the YouTube channel, Evan's gonna build a sealed deck with us.
I know, right? It's gonna be
exciting.
Awesome. We have 6 packs, 4 packs of Rivals, 2 packs of Ixalan, and hopefully it's awesome.
All right, what are you hoping to open here?
Well, you know, obviously some sweet planeswalkers. Angrath has proven to be quite powerful, as it turns out. So I'm excited to open those. There's some great removal spells. Let's take a look and see what our rare. We are starting off very nicely with some Tendershoot Dryad. This was an all-star in my pre-release sealed pool. This card automatically makes me want to think, I want green cards. I hope they're good. This is a card that is very splashable.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets you to, it ascends essentially itself very quickly. And I found in the pre-release multiple times I would have this, and this would make my 8th permanent, the first would make a 9th, and then it would come to my turn and make a 10th. So all of a sudden they would kind of turn on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so that's good. I do recall you saying, if I see this in draft, I'm not passing it.
No, never ever. This card is terrific, and I could definitely see this seeing standard play.
Oh, exciting.
As good as it is. But let's start with the Rivals packs, because that's the new shiny. Oh boy. So let's take a look here. We got our Moment of Triumph. We got a Negate. We have our 4-mana 3/4 and Araska Raptor. Aggressive Urge. Canal Monitor.
Wooburg, perfect, right off.
It feels so good. Well, almost black, red, green. There we go. Keeping it good. Gleaming Barrier. You got our Cleansing Ray. Nothing too great. Secret of the Golden City. We didn't see a lot of these in the pre-release, but it is a really interesting card. You know, Divination could be the greatest divination ever if you have it there. Araska Relic was also a card that was really sweet.
So what does that one do again?
This one, it does have Ascend. So if you have the Blessing, of course it's just a mana rock essentially.
Yeah.
But tap, sack it, gain 3 life, and draw a card. You don't have to pay any mana for that. And
That's
usually,
not bad.
yeah, usually you have to pay some sort of mana to get any life, any cards, but just have 10 permanents instead. This card was really good, I felt, for CVM. That he did a great job doing that, using this card as a very aggressive start to his pirate deck. This is the best Savannah Lions of all time. And for a guy who loves Savannah Lions, to see this kind of card be like, wow, it's just an amazing Savannah Lions. That's ridiculous.
I like cards that are good early game and late game. Like, yeah, it's a 2-1 early game, fine. And late game, a 2-1 flyer is not that unuseful.
No, it's fine.
Because like, if you get to the point where you have 10 permanents, sometimes you're like, I don't want a piker. I need something with more meat.
Right.
But, you know, an evasive dude.
And this is the kind of creature that just kind of hangs out and then just becomes amazing. This isn't as good as our Silvergill Adept, but it's okay. It's the kind of the vampire Silvergill Adept, as it were, that has a 3-mana 2/2 flying lifelink. Our uncommon here, also Curious Obsession, which is really interesting. It's a sort of a curiosity that gives it a bonus, but you have to keep attacking with it, which I like. Our rare here.
There are a lot of cards that reward aggression in this set, aren't there?
Yeah, please turn them sideways.
Yeah.
Form of the Dinosaur, not a great sealed card because you kind of go all in on these types of cards. This is very flavorful, very interesting, sort of a Form of the Dragon-esque type card, but I don't really see it making our deck.
Okay.
All right, so we move on here to our second pack. Very exciting. More 4-mana 3/4s in Araska Raptors. Our Moment of Triumph, we were talking about this in our other supplemental content, where we were saying that was a very good card. Sailor of Means, a very popular card amongst many players.
And that's just been, that's a reprint.
Yeah, that is a reprint from Ixalan, which is interesting.
So you could have very many Sailors of Means.
It's true.
But like, they're pretty okay, right?
Now, Impale.
What a good card.
I love me a murder, and this is murder.
Yeah, like, it's, yeah.
And here's Bombard, where one of the cards that will live in infamy for me, in that rarely do you punt so hard that people will probably talk about that for a while.
Think of your punting as how educational it was. Other people are very going to be aware to be checking for how much power and toughness creatures have now because of various lords.
There's a lot of lords, and you should definitely pay attention to those. Now this card is sweet.
Okay.
This is one of those cards that I feel like the judges will get a kick out of because you start having those questions of how many Polyraptors do you get when X happens and Y happens, and
we're gonna have to learn how to do like the X to the power of X kind of math.
Right.
Like 4 to the power of 2 is.
And also note that the Harbinger, I can't recall what they're called, the ones that search up dinosaurs. That's a May ability if you play a dinosaur and it deals a damage to all creatures, and so that makes this card even more interesting.
So you don't have a lot in your you don't have a lot of green cards yet, but
that one pushes you in a direction.
Yeah.
It is 8 mana, but there are ways for you to hold off and get to 8 mana. There's also cards that make dinosaurs cheaper, which is also very sweet. Go ahead and have our sealed, our frilled Death Spitter. That's a neat card. We have not quite Slitherblade, one less toughness, but it is a merfolk, and sometimes that matters. Helps to trigger raid in that regard. We have another Gleaming Barrier, best wall of stone ever, which is fun. I like this card, Jungle-Born Pioneer. Essentially a 3-mana 3/3, except one part of it is hexproof, which is always nice. This card is really interesting. This is the sort of raid mana war, as it were.
Oh yeah, that card is quite good.
Oh, speaking of cards that are quite good, Crashing Brontodon is in no way part of a normal power level. That power level of this card is crazy.
Wow, that is a very powerful card.
3 mana 3/4. Wow.
And then if it's not useful for some reason, but like, you know, you can just sacrifice it to, because a lot of the removal in this, at least if you're playing against a white player, there's a lot of enchantment style removal, like your not Silk Wrap, your Baffling Journey,
right,
and your Luminous Bonds and your whatever, like Ixalan's Binding and stuff like that.
Exactly.
You got lots of good targets.
Paladin of Atonement is a very powerful card. I've seen this card do incredible things.
I haven't seen this card yet.
It's really neat. It's just, you know, at the beginning of, first of all, it's each upkeep. Every single upkeep, if you lost life last turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And when it dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. And I've seen that a lot of this format is very tempo-based, and gaining 3 life, 4 life could swing a game in your favor. So that rare is definitely something to look out for. I'm thinking so far, I like my green. You know, turns out Polyraptor will do that to you. This card was fun, Sun-Collared Raptor. Adam didn't notice this had trample. So when you put mana in this thing, it tramples over and kills you. Legion Conquistador being reprinted in Rivals is interesting. Right, by itself. This one being, what's the card from Invasion? I can't recall. I think it's not Dismiss, it's something else. But there was a 3 mana blue and 2 colorless, you know, bounce a creature, draw a card. Always fantastic. If you can make it happen, of course, now with a Merfolk to make that not be a sorcery. Let's see here. Moment of Craving is terrific. It is your Disfigure +1, which gains you 2 life.
It's totally useful, especially when you look at the stats on like most Merfolks and most Vampire. It's like, well, that's just removal and it's cheap.
There's a lot of great combat tricks that are +2/+2 or -2/-2 type thing going on, and that's obviously a great one. Another reprint from Ixalan. And of course, I will take my pacifisms wherever I can get them. Interesting. If another creature you control dies, Mausoleum Harpy gets a +1/+1 counter on it. I have not played with this card.
I haven't seen this card yet, but that seems like that's powerful in black.
Yeah, and now note it has to be a creature you control, not just any creature, but 5 mana 3/3 flyers are automatically playable.
Well, because like the thing is, it's a 5 mana 3/3 flyer, and then if you have Ascend, you know, you start getting these +1/+1 counters. But like, you're at 5 mana. So by the time you cast this, even if you have no other creatures on the board, you're at 6.
Right.
And chances are you'll have something on the board. So, you know, it might not be...
It helps you sort of just put guys into the red zone and just be like, I don't care if they die. If they die, all of a sudden this becomes an air elemental. And if more die, it's a 5 mana 5/5 flyer, which is really scary.
It's quite challenging in this format because there's not a lot of flying in this format, so it, you know, has the potential to get out of control, I think.
Right. And another green card that I really like, Strength of the Pack. I guess I'll just put 2 +1/+1 counters on everything. That sounds like
seems fine.
Good fair magic. Resplendent Griffin I've seen do some really good work. This is when it attacks, gets a +1/+1 counter as long as you have the City's Blessing, and that's not too hard to get. 3 mana 2/2 flyer is already a Windrake. That's already a very playable
That's
card.
fine, yeah.
Yeah, this card is really sweet. The rare being Silent Gravestone, which was Magic Mike's preview card.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for Rivals, which is cool. Not the most playable in a limited format, but I think in Constructed very well could do interesting things. And I have a foil here of Brazen Freebooter. Sometimes your Hill Giant gives you a treasure.
That seems fine.
And that's okay. It's nothing to write home about, but I've not been like, I don't hate it or anything. I just felt like it was okay.
I mean, it's a common, right? Like, you know.
It's a pirate. I like Ryle. Ryle's always great for Enrage. There's a lot more Enrage, I feel, in this set than normal. But at this point, we're getting to our Ixalan cards.
Oh, that's kind of good for Polyraptor.
Oh, yeah. Seems fine. Our 5 mana 3/4 flyer is always a fine choice. If I want to get super aggressive, we have the Nest Robber, which is neat. Let's see here. And of course, our 3 mana 3/2 gain some life. That card's okay, which is fine.
Yeah. I was never like amazed by Ravenous Daggertooth.
It's not even all that great. The two
Whiptail
toughness.
is good though.
Whiptail is a fine magic card. Let's see here. We have Ranging Raptors is cool. This lets you kind of, rampant growth, as it were.
You can get a lot of green cards in the first 2 packs, but the green's really, actually starting to look nice in the later part of this pack opening extravaganza.
I know, right? Now, Sorcerer Spyglass, awesome constructed card. Not so great in limited. We're starting to see a pattern here. Not the best pattern, but okay. And lastly, for our final Ixalan pack, let's see what we got here. We'll have our March of the Drowned, which is a super neat Raise Dead. More Nest Robbers, more 5-mana 3/4s. And our Shining Arrow Source. 2 5-mana 3/4s is just fine for me. An Opt, which honestly I don't see a lot. It's one of those like sort of mythic commons. You don't even see Opts all the time. Let's see here. Deeproot Warrior. Again, more green cards. That seems great. This card is always sweet. The Water Trap Weaver. Tap down their best thing.
We got some nice merfolk coming together, actually.
Yeah. Let's see, we have more red cards here. And for Raptor Hatchling, which is neat. But Shaper's Sanctuary is a very interesting card. I like this card a lot. It didn't really do what I felt it would do. I felt it was a constructed worthy card. It's like you play this on turn 1. Any creature you play thereafter, if they like to target things, you draw cards from it. And then energy showed up. And then there was just mono energy.
Right.
And that's the thing. All right, so we get here. We have, I think, lots of playables in our green. We have plenty of creatures that they kind of scale up the mana cost. Obviously, Polyraptor being our all-star. Not a lot of amazing rares we pulled out of here, but we had some good merfolk, which I think could be an option. So let's take a look here and maybe separate out the playable green from the unplayable green. 2-mana 2/2s. I'm iffy on the Shaper Sanctuary. Like, I want to believe, but at the same time,
I mean, people do tend to run more removal and sealed, but
it's a bad top deck. It doesn't do anything when you play it.
Yeah, I think you're probably better off served by just having a creature in your deck.
Right.
And then if you are playing against somebody who's like running 9 pieces of removal, maybe you just board it in, but probably not. You probably just are happy to have a creature.
I mean, between Tindershoot Dryad, the Polyraptor, and Strength of the Pack, we already have enough cards to go, man, you really need to take a look at this green.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have 6-mana 6/6s that get reprinted in Rivals because they're terrific. So all those cards seem very playable to me. Thrashing Brontodon again. This to me is way up the power curve. To the point where we have a Orozca Frillback, which is a 3-mana 4/2, where you're like, I don't know if I even want to play that card because the rest of my dinosaurs are great.
I feel like 4/2 is not a great stat in this format because you're going to be trading for a 2-mana 2/2 a lot of the time.
Now,
but if you're aggressive and you're just turning them sideways.
Right. Well, where the Freebooter kind of got you a treasure, the Jadecraft Artisan I was impressed with when I saw it played, which gives a creature +2/+2 until end of turn, which on a Hill Giant is great, and in a format that's very tempo based, also feels very good. So I like that one. Aggressive Urge, I'm a little iffy on it myself, but drawing cards is drawing cards.
Yeah.
And sometimes all you need is that +1/+1.
That's true. I mean, like, Skullduggery was pretty good, and that was like +1/-1, right? Which is still a 2-point swing, but like it wasn't, you weren't like doing a lot, but it still was not as bad as you'd think it would be, right?
Now, this card has done lots of work. Strider Harness. Card's good. Also has one of the best flavor texts in the whole set.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because the giant implacable death lizard wasn't scary enough already. You put a harness on it.
That's kind of how I feel about the dinosaurs, honestly. Who said that? Brinley Rage? I feel you, Brinley.
You certainly do. 1 Legion Conquistador, not enough Conquistadors.
No.
Now, I've had like 3 of these, and I felt good about it. Like, you play the 1, you essentially draw 2 cards, 2 of them being these. It's a great top deck when you have multiples. When it's not very good. But you have 2 of the 5-mana flyers. We do have the new Pacifism and Luminous Bonds.
That seems good.
That seems fine. I don't really like this guy, and I've seen this one in play, and it didn't really do much, unfortunately. The Snubhorn Sentry kind of gets the snub. He gets snubbed.
If you have Ascend, he's a 3/3.
For 1 mana, which is legitimately good. It's not like it's bad.
No, but I feel like if you have a send, you want more than a 3/3 with no other words on it.
Right. Now, we were talking about how good Moment of Triumph was in the other piece of content we filmed about our impressions. And it's a very good combat trick. It is a terrific combat trick to do what you need to do. It gains you life. That's important. It usually always makes sure that your creature lives and their creature dies. And I do have 2 of them, which is better than 1 of them.
People... Oh, yeah. No one's going to expect the second Moment of Triumph.
I know, right? This is one a really interesting card. It's obviously, I think, a super sideboard card in Cleansing Ray, but when it's good, it's probably very, very good. But it's definitely not a main deckable card.
So do you think you have enough white to go white-green?
Maybe. White-green has a problem oftentimes just winning games.
Yeah.
Now, again, I have the Tindershoot Dryad, which can definitely win a game. Oftentimes, white-green will just stall out. Like you can have a great ground force or whatever, maybe have a few flyers, but when they have burn spells, when they have removal spells, and you don't, that's often a big swingy factor. So with that, I wanted to take a look at our red here and see what our red's going on. Hijack, not so great. I mean, it's just good old-fashioned threaten. That's a little bit more, a little harder to cast. But if you have sacrifice effects, it is terrific.
I didn't see you opening any.
No, I didn't really. You know, you have Bombard again. Awesome card for me in the pre-release for many.
I mean, it's
removal.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of top end. We have some Nest Robbers and some Raptor Hatchlings and whatnot, and that's cool. But ultimately, there's not a lot of great enrage cards here. There's not a lot of rares, not a lot of power and commons.
Like there's certainly some you have some playable dinosaurs, but it's nothing that's like steering you towards red at this point. Like things are steering you towards green.
Oh, I'm definitely steered towards green.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, and I'm hoping the black it can kind of come through. You know, creatures like Deadeye Tormentor are fine, but I definitely like the Mausoleum Harpy better. You know, that card is totally sweet. I definitely like Fathom Fleet Cutthroat. That's a great card to just finish off, you know, whatever creature they have. When your opponent makes a weird attack and they're playing black, usually this card follows them up. You're like, well, I'll just block and kill you or whatever. And then they go, yeah, you go ahead and kill that too. Which is good. Again, the Disfigure with Upside is fine. This card actually did some great work. 3 mana 3/3. Sometimes it's just worth 2 life to get a 3 mana 3/3 for 3. Yeah, as it were.
I mean, like black doesn't normally get stuff right on the curve. Like
exactly.
Normally that's green's domain is getting a 3 mana 3/3.
Right.
Or in this set, a 3 mana 3/4.
Of course, green. Now we do have 2 of them, but we do have Impale, which you know, again, murder, fantastic removal spell. That's what you want to be doing.
It's unconditional removal.
Yeah.
Yes, it's sorcery speed. Yes, it costs 4 mana, but sometimes somebody casts a Polyraptor.
Yeah, here's an interesting card, the Dusk Charger.
Interesting.
It gets a 4 mana 5/5 as long as you have the City's Blessing, which to me is a fine card to run. There's not a ton of depth here, in my opinion. Like we do have the 1 removal spell. We got some cards.
2 removal spells.
2 removal spells. Yeah, we have the Moment of Craving, which is good. Sadistic Sky Marcher is fine.
I mean, he's a 2/2 flyer for 3. You're basically never going to get that discount in this deck because you just don't really have any other vampires.
Right, there's just not enough. I mean, Vicious Conquistador is cute and all, but like I think Canal Monitor is just kind of bad. So yeah. So if I want to go super aggressive, usually that's a black-red deck. You know, it's not a black-green deck.
Right.
Yeah, black-green is normally sort of your mid-range. I'm controlling the mid-game. I have some awesome top ends. I'm using my black to kill things and/or get some points in.
You'd want to be seeing a little bit more removal in this pool if you're like serious about going into black-green.
Exactly. So you know, Vicious Conquistadors. I mean, Grasping Scoundrels are neat. Don't get me wrong. I like them, but I have some okay black cards. This card was actually, obviously, in CVM's deck was amazing because that's what he wanted to do.
Well, I mean, he was
Out
running
early.
an all like red-black pirate deck.
Exactly. He was out early. He was coming to get you.
Yeah, he was hyper-aggressive.
Right. So I think we're kind of down to our green-blue, where we have some good cards. We have the Water Trap Reaver to trap them down. We have Perilous Voyage to bounce their stuff. We have Prosperous Pirates, which is a card that can definitely get us to Polyraptor mana.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also good. Opt is always a fine card. This card isn't going to take much to become flying when we have as much Merfolk as we do in here, which, as I look through here, we don't have as much Merfolk as I would like in here, which is unfortunate because, you know, good old-fashioned Goblin Piker is not that great if you can't make it fly. But, you know, Siren Lookout is good. Sworn Guardian, not so much. Crashing Tide is good. Deadeye Rig Hauler, again, your mana war is fine.
I think you're looking at, like, for removal, right? If you're going, your removal is bigger creatures than they do and bounce at this point.
Yeah. Now, I like Kitesail Corsair, which is a fantastic, Goblin Piker that flies when it attacks. That's awesome. Sailor of Means, a lot of people's favorite card is that card. I like drawing cards with Secrets of the Golden City, which is neat. And Aquatic Incursion is cool. It helps you make merfolk. That's neat.
But if you don't have a lot of other merfolk, it's kind of a dud.
Yeah, I just don't have really the synergy to kind of make all of that work. Now, I do have the blue-white Resplendent Griffin, which at least lends you towards like, well, what if you were thinking about more of a combat trick heavy combo, or sort of more of a tempo type, get early creatures in, get evasion creatures out. That's fine.
I love how that Griffin's a parrot. I've never seen that before.
But they call it a griffin.
Yeah.
It remains a griffin. Curious Obsession is neat. I like this card a lot, particularly with a lot of evasion creatures. Negate in sealed is often amazing because usually you're able to get them in sealed, but in draft it's very much about playing on the curve, make sure you have everything. So so in sealed it's going to be good and is often playable.
Yeah. Well, because like people don't have that much removal usually in sealed, and if you can like get them on removal or a combat trick, you can really blow somebody out.
So I guess one of the things we could do here, and we'll go ahead and get these lands and things out of the way, is let's go ahead and take a look at the green that we like. We have lots of green that that is definitely playable in many ways. Definitely want to play that. Definitely play our 6-drop, plus our 6-drop, plus our amazing 5-drop rare, which I absolutely love, plus our amazing 8-mana guy. Now we don't have the 4-mana 2/4 that makes dinosaurs 2 mana cheaper, which is unfortunate. But we do have a lot of creatures sort of on the curve here. Ixalan's Keeper is a fine 2-drop, 2-mana 2/2. Later becomes good. Aggressive Urge honestly is looking like it's going to see some play here. Ravenous Daggertooth, not amazing, but I think it's still playable.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. Grazing Whiptail is good. Ranging Raptors is good. And Deeproot Warrior, again, 2-mana 2/2. You're able to get in there early and start dealing some damage. So this is kind of where we're at with a super high-end. So our green cards are neat. We have 4. We can take a look at the Strider Harness. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards. Need another 9. What gives us our best other 9 cards?
This is my constant issue when I'm building sealed pools, is I'm like, okay, I have one color that's like obvious I want to play it because it has good rares and just like, like this is not just, yes, you've got some amazing top end here, but you also have like a decent selection of like serviceable and good early creatures, right? Which is really what you need to be looking for in any, like, just because you have fantastic 8-drops doesn't mean you should necessarily play that color.
Right. Now, while unfortunately, I dismissed a lot of our red earlier, but looking at it now, I think you kind of go back and you say, you have Bombard, you have lots of really good creatures. If you wanted to go super aggressive, we have 2 nest robbers. We have the Stampeding Horncrest, which if you have another dinosaur, it has haste.
Which, given this pool, you'll definitely have another dinosaur.
I will definitely have dinosaurs. If I definitely want to play red, I've got things like Frilled Death Spitter. In fact, I want to say I had 2 of those, but I do not. Instead, I have the Suncaller Raptor, which looks just kind of like it, honestly. They look very, very similar. But so if we wanted to go super aggro, we're able to kind of put these cards here. We have Bombard with only 1 piece of removal, which kind of makes me sad. I don't think we have a ton of Enrage, not enough Enrage to really make Growl worth it. But Strider Harness is a way to take advantage of all your dinos.
And flavor-wise, it's good to have the Strider Harness in there because it's already got a dinosaur on it, right?
Right, and ultimately, I mean, a 4-mana 3/4 is still a fine Magic card. A Raptor is still a playable card. It still does, it still gets in there. It's got nice hive toughness, and that's positive. Shake the foundations. If we had a bunch of Enraged creatures, card would be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have with Enrage? You have
the Death Spitter. Yeah. We have the Hatchling technically, but usually that's just it dies and makes a 3/3.
Yeah.
The Raptors goes and gets you a land. The Daggertooth gets you some life.
No, this is not enough. That's not enough. It's not powerful enough. There's some really powerful Enrage cards in this format. Like they deal damage to like opponents' creatures and stuff like that. That is when you'd want to be bringing Ryle, you think?
Perhaps. It's nice that it's versatile, but it's only target creature you control. So
You don't have any mana fixing, do you?
I don't have a bit of it, unfortunately. So as I have this laid out right here, we do have 24 cards.
Oh, so you could even make a cut.
Right, which looks like
I'd
you'd
probably
want.
just cut a nest robber.
Yeah, you know, it's not as exciting, I think, as the Raptor. This Sun-Colored Raptor was pretty terrific because late game, you're just able to pour all your mana into it. And you want them to block it because it tramples right over anyway.
Yeah, I've made this mistake before. Two in a red colon. So if late game you're sitting around and you've hit Ascend and you actually have 6 mana to put into this thing, you can give it +6/+0 and trample.
Which is exactly what I did with Adam.
So it was a 7/2?
Yeah.
Choo-choo.
Yeah. It turns out I won the game on that turn because that's what it does. So the ability for Freebooter to help us get up to the Polyraptor, the ability for Ranging Raptors to help us get up to these big drops, you know, is definitely a positive. Nest Robber is cute, but the ability for, you know, these 2-mana 2/2s to be in here, you know, I don't hate Nest Robber, but I like Raptor Hatchling because it almost has unblockable. It's a great chump blocker to replace itself with a 3/3, and I definitely want to keep Sun-Colored Raptor in there. So if we take that out.
Mana sinks are valuable, especially in a format where it's like, yeah, no, you want to get to controlling 10 permanents, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so right here we have 23 cards in front of us. And while I would love to play the black because at least we have a piece of removal, there are arguments that we should play with the Relic. I could definitely see that. We don't have a lot of spells, you know, in here. Being able to play this again gets us up to our large drops, gets us late game. It just gains you 3 life and draws you a card. That's often very important.
It does, I mean, like, it only taps for colorless mana.
Right.
Which doesn't help you cast some of your, you know, your turn 4 double red, double green. But is that really a big concern for you?
Well, it also gets you from sort of 3 mana to 5 mana. You know, to be able to get like Tindershoot Dryad, when you're playing against a deck, like for example at Merfolk, when I was playing Adam, I got this Dryad out as soon as possible because all he can do is try to tap it down, which doesn't do anything to it, or bounce it, which I'm happy to play it again.
Yeah, it's worth it for you to maybe take a turn off casting a creature to power out some of your big dudes early.
Right. To get that Colossal Dreadmaw out there, good old fashioned 6 mana, 6/6, I'll take it. Stampeding Horncrest, it's okay. I mean, you need something higher on the curve, which is good too. Take a look at exactly sort of how many non-creature spells we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 non-creature spells. So in many ways, you know, if it feels like we don't have, you know, we have a lot of early game, not a lot of late game. This gets us to the late game where we have, I think, legitimately some powerful stuff. So to power it down just a little bit, again, Nest Robber, I think in the black-red, super aggro, get them as fast as possible. I love that card, but you know, I believe this Relic, and again, haven't seen this being played. You know, I think this card was better than I first, you know, at my first glance, particularly in that it takes no mana to sacrifice it and gain life and draw cards.
Right. So after it's outlived its usefulness, after you've powered out your 6-drop or your 8-drop or anything, you know.
And as we spoke of regarding, you know, Moment of Triumph, you know, gaining some life is super important in this format. It doesn't take much to kind of swing the tide your way. So with that, we have essentially a 23 card deck. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23. Yeah, so at that point, you know, I just begin kind of laying out how many of each color I have. I try to pay attention of which double mana costs I have, which I have early double green right here for Thrashing Brontodon. So when you find yourself in those situations, that helps you kind of, you know, kind of decide whether you want 9 of one land and 8 of another, you know. That kind of helps kind of turn it one way or another. So we have here, we'll go ahead and put our artifacts down there. So we've got lots and lots of green cards, not as many red cards. That said, I don't always like to go like the 10-7, you know, 10 forests, 7 mountains, because you don't ever, like, if all you need is 2 forests or all you need are 2 mountains, then I never want to kind of cut one color off of another, even if one is, you know, clearly being favored. So in that regard, I would put this deck together. I would probably put 9 forests and 8 mountains, and hope for the best to get me to that top end, because Tindershoot Dryad can win the game by itself, and nobody wants to face a Polyraptor.
Nope. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That was deck building with Evan.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for more really cool supplemental content on our YouTube channel. And thank you so much, Evan, for walking us through this very cool looking seal pool.
You bet. Thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.